Welcome to the Bart Show. This is the segment where I interview the world's most interesting people, which means you're one of the world's most interesting people.
Wow, that's exciting.
I'm going to ship you a trophy and everything. Like, this is so much fun.
And you don't even know how interesting I am yet, Bart.
So RosieTrain is a comedian, is a podcaster, is an author. You and I have a similar background, but you've gone on to do some big stuff. Netflix is a joke special. You're touring. You're at this conference, headlining with John Cleese.
I know, you're so sweet.
Oh, Monty Python. Like, how do you get on stage with John Cleese? There's a little bit of jelly going on, I got to tell you. This is pretty impressive stuff.
I'm actually really nervous about it because I thought we were going to be in a little side room. I think we're in the other big room. So
Like 1,000 people, you think?
Yeah, so I'm kind of nervous.
You know, performing in front of 1,000 people is so much better than 25.
It's so much easier.
Because when it hits, it rolls, right?
It
and you're
does.
like, oh yeah, I'm funny. I'm so good at this.
It is, but it also kind of messes up your timing because, I'm used to performing in comedy clubs where it's 100 to 300 people, which is awesome.
Right.
But it's a different cadence. So I've actually been rehearsing, even though I do stand up so much, but I've been rehearsing because the timing is different.
The break. So I did this hosting gig. We're both from LA, and I did it at Dodger Stadium, and it was empty.
That is so crazy.
And it was this fundraiser, and my buddy and I, Dan, and we told a joke, and it went literally was like 7 seconds, and we're like, this is never going to work. But we're on the big screen. We're like, look at this on the big screen. We're terrible. We should get fired immediately. But damn, this is hard.
It is. It's a different animal for
Well,
sure.
Netflix is a joke. That was amphitheater. That was hard.
No, Netflix is a joke. I just did that at the Comedy Store. It was
Okay.
a side show. So they had their main show, which was at the Hollywood Bowl and that would had the Dave Chappelle's.
Right.
And
But you had to get attacked by a knife if you went there. You avoided that.
shouldn't laugh at that, but yes.
Oh, is it too soon?
So for comics, nothing is too soon, but the average viewer possibly.
So I got to go back. Most of my listeners, they read my books, like podcasts, but they kind of know I do comedy, and I've been using this introduction lately in LA and Dallas, where I've been featuring and stuff. And they're like, "Hey, Bart got his start at the world famous Comedy Store,"
You did.
and you can testify to that because I can tell they're like, oh
that.
bullshit.
I think I was there one of the nights you popped your first cherry, so I was definitely there.
Oh, tell everyone I know I wasn't brilliant, but I'm sure I was good enough. I only bombed once there, and I think everyone bombs, but I only bombed because at the time I was kind of Dennis Miller. I kind of had a pacing like this. I'm much more animated now, but I followed Bobby Lee, and that man is so funny and so over the top, and I'm pretty sure he got naked. And I was just
You're like, I can't follow this naked Asian guy.
But I was like, hi. It was just
in your suit, your sports jacket.
painful. But does that happen to you once in a while? Or are you over that? Because you've been doing this for 20 years.
Yeah. No, of course I still bomb. It's tough because even if you're the funniest comedian in the world, I've seen some really, really funny comedians just bomb. Jerry Seinfeld bombs. And so it's just part of the game.
Tell me about your writing. I've been writing a lot of comedy lately, and I find that so difficult. And yet sitting around with friends is so easy. And of course, as a comic, you're like, oh, please don't tell me any jokes. I don't need your jokes. How much do you write? Because this is your full-time profession. Like, do you still write an hour a day like Joe Rogan does? How much do you get into that writing? And do you find that most of it ends up in the garbage?
So I don't sit and write at a desk or write on a computer because that's not how my brain works. I write with what's called flow. It sounds very hippy-dippy, cheesy LA, but actually Albert Einstein talked about this, is that when he got really stuck with a science problem and a physics problem, he would go on a jog or run and do something else, and then it would come to him. So that happens to me a lot. I'll go on a long walk or I'll think about something else, and then something funny will come into my brain. And the most important thing is that I have to write it down the second I think about it, or a minute later it'll be gone.
So here's what happened. I was driving to a gig, and it was like a long way, like an hour and a half away. And I was running through, as you do, running through the set, but I recorded. And so I would think of things that I hadn't thought of before. And all of a sudden, my set the joke was 3 minutes. It was like 6 minutes
Yes.
for the punchlines.
That's how I write.
But
yeah.
I stopped and recorded each one of them. And I thought, driving and in the shower. That's the only place I get ideas.
It's never sitting and writing.
No!
In fact, people that sit and write say that they get writer's block.
Right.
So don't do that.
So leave you on the shower, but do you ever try the technique when you're driving and just record everything as you're thinking it? Because I don't like to write and type it down.
I don't do that, but I usually I get a lot of joke ideas when I'm doing dishes.
You're very Thich Nhat Hanh. I mean, I know you wrote a book on meditation, so do you ever start to meditate and you're like, oh, I need to write this down? And you're like, I'm supposed to meditate, but I have to write
I
it down.
do come up with a lot of jokes when I meditate. So meditation, I have my monkey brain comes out and all these thoughts just come barfing out when I am like, be quiet, brain. And so that's when I write a lot of jokes too. But I wouldn't say writing. I come up with a lot of jokes because it's not really writing.
Your topic. So obviously, most comics start with what they know. You know, when you're young and single, or you're 22 and you're in LA. Where do you feel like your special place is? Because I've kind of avoided politics up to this point, and I'm sipping my toe into those to try and just try and get a rile of the crowd. But it's easier to stick to dating and this and belief
I
systems because
think
things that I know.
politics is the hardest form of comedy because if you don't do it right, you can alienate people. One of my favorite comics, I don't know if you know him, is Brendan Vestal. So Brendan, I still don't know what his political view is.
That's
His
great.
his comedy special is called Republicans Are Real People Too, or something like that, or Republicans Aren't Real People. And from his set, it seems like he leans libertarian, but you really can't tell.
I love
And
that.
it's funny. I think his act is funny to liberals and conservatives. And so that is why I think he's just so brilliant.
How is that? That's so hard
You
to
should
do.
watch. It's free. His special is free. It's on YouTube. It's a half-hour special. I believe it's called Republicans Aren't Real People. And it's very oddly politically neutral, but also very political.
You can plug your own stuff on the show. You don't have to just plug your buddies, but I love the fact that you're so generous.
I'm getting no residuals from this at all. He probably doesn't even know I'm doing this. But he's just an example of someone, and I just think political comedians, either way you go, are really brave because you're really putting yourself out there. I haven't had the cojones to put myself out there politically, but also I still don't really know what my political views are because I'm a recovering socialist. I was socialist for many years, and now I feel like I'm more libertarian and independent, but I still have viewpoints on both sides of the aisle. So I think I don't really fit into a category. And I think a lot of people are like that too. So maybe I should write jokes about that too. People that are like, I don't know where I go.
I was talking to Scott Dickers, who founded The Onion. Interesting guy. And he goes, Bart, most successful comedians that I know are atheist and libertarians at heart, but they don't admit that. And I was like, really? Because, I love a good Jesus joke. I have this whole bit about, CSI Jerusalem, and it's so offensive in the South. And yet everyone's like, oh my God, that'd be great. I'd love to see Jerusalem. Oh my God, where's the body? The door's open. How do you figure this out? I'm so confused. He must have escaped.
I think you should be able to laugh at everything. So I am the opposite. I was atheist and now I'm more religious or spiritual, I guess, is the thing you would say. But I think that people that can't laugh at religion or can't laugh at politics or can't laugh at, really dark things, I think they're missing the point of comedy. So comedy, as the infamous Joan Rivers said, you're taking something dark and heavy and you're making it light. You're making fun of it. That's why it's called making light. And so you're taking something that's really horrible and you're making it so that it's more processable, right? So you're processing the pain, the suffering, the grief. And so that's why making fun of death or making fun of politics or things that are really serious can be so fun and so transformational. And so I think people that don't laugh at serious stuff and they're like, oh, you shouldn't make fun of that, they're missing the point of comedy. The point of comedy is to make fun of it.
Did you see Ricky Gervais's Afterlife special?
I didn't. But
dark.
I know he's quite
It's almost too dark to get through the first season. Like if you've lost somebody, you're like, this is like a friend of mine was dying and I gave her like Viktor Frankl's Man's
Search for Meaning. Yeah.
Not really the book, but she didn't get through the whole thing. Because if you get through the whole thing,
I love it.
Inspirational.
I love it.
But
yeah.
She's like, listen, man, I just had a heart attack. I love you to death, but this is pretty dark. And I was like, yeah, but the ending is good. And so the thing with Ricky Gervais is like that first episode, he's so sardonic and he's so upset and he's such a prick and it's such a great character. And then he has this special where he's an unabashed atheist, yet people are like, oh my God, that's so great. And he doesn't really offend the Christians. And that's such a beautiful line to walk, where it's like, yes, there's a universe. And yes, we're obviously not 3,000 years old, but you know what? It's okay.
But I think even if you take, I'm a spiritual person, I'm a religious person, but I think if you take God too seriously, you're not, I think God has a great sense of humor if he or she exists. And I don't think that he or she would want you to be so serious and so uptight about everything. And so I think a lot of these people who get too offended whether it's political or religious or whatever, and say you can't make fun of that. They're missing the point. Of course you can make fun of it. That's the joy of life, the joy to be, right? Whatever it's called.
So this is challenging. We've chosen a career that's going to put us in the public eye and get criticized
Of
if we're a little bit
course.
too much. And I was watching Dave Chappelle's sort of I accept the graduation sort of speech at the university or the high school he went to, and he's like, "Look, I'm not here to not be offensive. I'm here to create and express my creative expression. And if I don't do that, I feel like I'm letting my artist down."
Yeah.
And I thought that is such a great community because he feels like, hey, yeah, I want to serve my people, and obviously I love the money from Netflix, but I feel an honor to serve. Do you ever feel like it's just the truth and I have to go for the joke, or do you also weigh what the audience is going to think? Because I just feel like if it's not funny, I have to cut it. It's got to be
I
funny.
do a little bit of both. So it's taken me many years. So I used to go just for what was funny, and
Right.
I'm like, I need the laugh. And I think that now that I'm more comfortable with, I guess, not being funny as a comedian, which sounds really weird. Um, I'm okay with doing things that are a little more thought provoking, but I'm still just dipping my toe in, 20 years later. I'm still just dipping my toe in to saying things that are brave and saying things that are courageous in the truth and interesting, but maybe not as hilarious.
Well, it's also the setup. It's just as a new comedian, you want setup, punch, punch. Like you just want to get that rhythm, like a sitcom. But if you have enough courage, you can let that setup go longer and you can be darker, but you better have a payoff.
You better have a payoff. So Dave Chappelle says, as long as it's funny. His line is, as long as it's funny. So if it's funny, then it can be offensive. If it's funny, it can be. And so I think it's really important that people understand that, because there is a, I'm going to say woke with loose quotations. There is a woke wave moving through the entertainment industry. And I actually think it's really bad for the entertainment industry, even liberals. It's bad for them because there's a censorship that's happening, and there's also a policing that's happening. And I don't like that. And I never really experienced it that badly, but I did start to experience it recently. So
Policing.
I have never, Bart, in 20 years of doing stand up, been considered an offensive comedian. I don't do anything like Dave Chappelle. I don't do anything, like Joe Rogan. I have never in my entire life been considered an offensive comedian. And recently I have been getting audiences gasping at me.
Can you give me an example? I know we're in your set, but is there
Oh,
any topic?
super not offensive. So I have a joke that says, I try to be a good Asian, but let's be real, I just had 3 car accidents.
It's so stereotypical. It's cute,
It's
and
not offensive at
but you
all.
can say it and it's
It's
cute.
not offensive at all. And I have had
Oh
people,
no!
I've done that joke for over 10 years. I've never had anyone ah, ooh. And recently I have, like, oh. And then I have,
Isn't it okay if you're the punchline that
yeah,
you can say it?
yes,
I can
Bart.
say a white joke,
Yes,
right? But
Bart.
so I had this wonderful girl from
You're
Thailand.
supposed to.
No, I was in class with a friend of mine, and he said, Bart, he goes, she's adorable. I understand she's from Taiwan. I understand she talks like that, but you cannot talk like her. I said, but I do the accent so well. He's like, it's not allowed, man. I go, but I loved her, and I think she's so cute. Everything was coming from such a good place, Rosie. And he's like, nope, you can't fucking do it.
So I disagree, but audiences, like I said, are becoming woke. And so I say woke with parentheses because a real woke person that was awake and alive and open-minded would say, hey, if this is coming from a good place or this is funny, then it's okay. But what woke is now turning into is censorship. And so I have another joke. I say, one of my friends said, well, you're Vietnamese. I don't want to eat Vietnamese food. Vietnamese people eat dog. I go, well, dog is delicious. And so, and so people, and I have gotten people super offended at that joke now. And first of all, obviously, I'm joking. I don't eat dogs. I own 2 dogs.
For the
For the
record,
record, I'm actually making fun of that stereotype, obviously.
yes.
But I have had people,
So I don't know.
recently,
You're too young.
now that I feel like this woke culture is taking over.
Back in the 50s, Elvis Presley. Back in
I lost you a little bit, Bart.
1 2 1
Okay,
2.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you so
Okay.
much. So back in the 50s, this guy named Elvis Presley, have you heard of him?
I have.
He was um, Elvis Presley was taken off stage for moving his hips,
He was.
and the police were just waiting for him to gyrate. And if you watch The Marvelous Mrs. Mabel, we see all these comedians, like these wonderful people, like break all these barriers. This was 50 years ago. Why are we having policing after all this progress? That's what's crazy right now.
It's really crazy. And not just that, I actually did a panel, Bart, um, about comedy. I thought it was a comedy panel. And afterwards, I was so distressed from the panel. And this is when I thought it was really getting bad. And I'm not a doomsayer. Oh, things are going backwards. But on the panel, there was other comedians, minority comedians, ethnic comedians. And some of them were saying, you can't make fun of, even if you are. And I couldn't believe it. I could not believe out of other comedians' mouths that they would say that. And I said, well, what if it's coming from a good place and it's funny? And there was other comedians on the panel saying, no, you're not allowed to. And I said, so I can't make fun of Asians and I'm Asian. I can't make fun of myself. And believe it or not, Bart, there was people on the panel that said, no, Rosie, that they believed that as comedians. They were comedians.
Were they working comedians? Were they successful
They
comedians?
were. And I was very...
Are they funny?
I will not answer that.
So it's not just the audience, it's self-censored.
It's self-censored.
We're self-censoring.
Some
'cause
people
we want to have a career.
Yeah.
And the people can get away with, like Bill Burr, like, I already have a career.
I already have a career. I don't
whatever
care.
I want. Man, I already got it. I don't need it.
I can say whatever I want and my audience doesn't care because that's what they signed up for when they signed up for Bill Burr. And so people like me and you might suffer because we're still growing our audience. They're still growing our fans. And someone might say, well, I'm not into that. But I felt self-centered on the panel because I was like scared to say my real opinion with people saying you can't even make fun of yourself.
Oh, that's insane. What was your audience? So this is all my audience for India and all around, and I'm a white guy that does psychology. Do you attract women? Do you attract girl in their 20s, millennials? Do you attract Asians? Like when you get an audience where they come to see you, what does it look like?
So my audience is actually really, really mixed, which is awesome. But that's the best audience. Like I went to Des Moines, Iowa, and I headlined a show with the amazing Lana Turner called the Girls Next Door Comedy Show. And I perform for majority white audiences all the time, but this was like white. This was like, I have a joke in my act about a black guy. And during the joke, I usually point to a black guy in the audience. There was no black guy.
Well, this is not working as planned.
And I went after my set, a white lady came up to me and she's like, honey, I got you, but this is Des Moines. It's white. She goes, it's even white for me and I'm white. So I do think I do great with majority, white audiences, but I need a little sprinkle of color.
Yeah, I perform to all black audiences.
I perform for all black audiences.
And some of it just doesn't work. Generally, they like me. Generally,
there's a couple things they're like, "What are you talking about?"
And then sometimes they're just like, "I don't get that joke at all." And I've never held any hate to it because I've got nothing racist in any of my comedy.
Yeah,
it's a lot of sex jokes and this jokes and dating jokes and stuff. But it's interesting how you almost have to self-edit yourself depending on the audience.
Or you could just be yourself, but you might not get laughs.
Which is the risk we always take,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. But the good thing is I don't have to edit the set list because nothing's inherently racist or inherently offensive.
Yeah.
I say offensive. I've always been mildly offensive. I think Sarah Silverman once said, not to me personally, that if it's more funny than offensive, I'll say it. Like if it's offensive, I'll take the risk if it's super funny. And I've really liked that phrase because I want to live that way. I want to live bravely, and I normally have. But Rosie, I pissed off a lot of people. I had an agent turn to me once and he goes, listen, man, I don't like you and I'll never represent you. And I was like, what's going on? It was just at the bar because I was just being myself, making jokes. And he was just like, no, I don't want any of this. And it hurt for like 5 seconds. Then I went, okay. I'm not a cup of tea.
You know what? People are so mean though. And I think that the internet too makes people a little bit meaner. Like I'll have people comment on my videos and they'll say, oh my God, she keeps laughing. It's so annoying. I'm like, you're mad that I'm joyful? I'll do podcasts and I laugh a lot because I'm a very joyful person, genuinely joyful. I've had a lot of suffering in my life. I was in an abusive relationship. I'm the child of immigrants. We grew up in, not that good of a circumstance. If you've had anyone close to you die in your life and you can't laugh about everything, I mean, life is too freaking short. My dad just died 2 years ago. And it's life is short. You have to enjoy life. And so when I see people, on my YouTube comments, like,
don't read those. That's abusive. You know that? I don't see self-castigation and punishment in your handwriting.
But it's just interesting how as entertainers we put ourselves out there.
But you literally, and I know you wrote a book on meditation, and I want to get to that, but you are proud of yourself because you're like, I've had a lot of trauma. My dad died, and yet I've found joy.
You have
And
to
I'm proud of that. And yet these trolls are like trying to take it away from me
try to take it
that
away.
I'm being joyful despite some circumstances.
It's so hard. I mean, I was part of a cyber mob. I don't know if you know what that
I
is.
don't. I,
So a cyber mob is when the internet kind of turns against you for a little
oh,
bit. So I
I
had
need to know this because it's gonna happen.
so I had a clip, and it was called "How to Get an Asian Girlfriend," and it was a silly clip. It was 30 seconds.
Sketch or stand up.
It was a podcast clip from a
Okay.
podcast, and it was me and another Asian female comedian. We made jokes, and literally the clip is like how to get an Asian girlfriend, and I was like, we like good hygiene, so clip your toenails. That was the clip.
That was it.
A woke, again, I'm going to say woke, um, personality on Twitter who is a very angry male who likes to push woke things. I'm going to say that. Retweeted it to his million+ following and said, "Look at this is disgusting. Look what these girls are doing. This they're fetishizing Asian women. This is disgusting."
Fetishizing
Yeah.
or mocking?
I don't know. I don't think he knew what it meant, but
He's never dated an Asian girl. 'Cause that's so true. You know, you bitches make me shower before I get into bed. Twice. And they're like, no, I can't touch the floor. Do you have any slippers? This is just not from personal experience. I'm making this up.
So I was attacked for 4 days straight on Twitter, death threats, people sending me just all sorts of stuff. I had to turn off my notifications and turn off my Twitter and block like 20 people. But this went on for about 4 days straight. It's called a cyber mob. It happens to people all the time. It actually made me have a lot of compassion for public figures like Donald Trump and Joe Biden and people that get attacked constantly. Because even though I was able to ignore it after like the third day, the first 2 days it was really upsetting.
It has to not feel good.
It doesn't feel good when you turn on your Twitter and you see 9,000 posts saying you're scum, you're disgusting. One person even accused me of murder.
I murder jokes, bitch. How do you answer that? You're just like, dude,
You just have to
not
ignore.
engaging.
You just have to.
Not engage because they really haven't earned a voice.
And they don't know who I am. They were just going off some guy's,
Oh.
some woke warrior's tweet about
Or a
me.
30-second clip.
Off a 30-second clip. Why? I just say clip your toenails.
We've had a 20-year career, and you're gonna take 30 seconds, which,
Yeah.
by the way, is still kind of funny, depending on who it is.
And just every attack. One guy said, you're a horrible person. You've never. I mean, I volunteer with Boys and Girls. I do so many things, and this person doesn't. So it's just crazy.
I was glancing at your handwriting when you were talking about that because my audience knows me as a handwriting expert.
And what are you going to say about me?
But you're not exceptionally sensitive. Like you said, that really hurt my feelings. But I'm like, she's not exceptionally sensitive. It's not like you're a big baby. If your husband says, I don't like that dress, you're like, good thing you're not wearing it.
So what can you tell from my handwriting?
Well, see, I love crazy people, and you're not really crazy. You're playful, but you're balanced and you're super honest. You're very talkative. You've got good emotional balance. You get impatient with people who drive too slow in the fast lane. I know you made the joke about Asians.
Yeah, that's true.
This slants up and you're optimistic. You're very independent. Like it's all this good stuff.
Great.
Now, you said now these Y's are straight down. You're very independent, so you travel a lot by yourself, right?
Yeah.
But you're married.
Yeah.
But you like the space. Does he know you just? I love you, but can you just be over there for a few days? It's called a loner quality. It's very fascinating because there's nothing about you that says loner or introvert, but like that's in the handwriting.
I am very introverted, actually.
How interesting.
I turn it on for performing and for podcasts and things, but I'm actually very introverted.
Is that why you got into meditation? Because you like the solace, or you?
Oh, I hated meditation
or you
when
hate
I started.
people.
I hate people.
It's weird because I feel like I'm a people when you say that.
No,
I feel like
not
I'm
you.
included in that conversation.
I love a person. I hate people. I think people can be quite lowest common denominator when they
Mobs or the concept of
mobs
people?
and the collective thinking. I think kind of I think collective thinking generates towards the average, where I think people can be exceptional.
You know that
A person can be exceptional.
the surveys that say how good looking you are, 70% of America think they're above average. The math doesn't stack up. Have you been to Walmart? That's average.
I'm from Louisiana, Bart. I've been to a Walmart.
I spent a lot of time in Louisiana growing up in kinder, and in that whole southern, like my favorite food is East Texas, Louisiana. But you're from NOLA, right? You're from New Orleans.
Yeah, I'm from New Orleans.
Oh, that's a better town.
That is, everything's deep fried with a stick of butter on top.
I just grew up with like train tracks and white trash and hurricanes and crawdads, and I've never understood why people eat crawdads. Can you explain that to me?
Because they're little mini lobsters and they're yummy.
They're mini roaches with spice on them. How do you put that in your mouth? You Asians eat anything. See, that was an Asian joke again. See what I did just there?
Racist, offensive.
Oh, you should cancel me.
Canceled.
See, this is what comics do when they're alone.
This is what comics
It's
do. And
playful.
whenever I book an SNL, this clip is gonna go viral, and they're gonna say, "Look, she's co-conspirating with the White Devil," and then I'm gonna get canceled.
The White Devil. We might have to end on that. That's fabulous. Tell me what I can plug. You want to plug your podcast, or you want to plug
Yes.
your YouTubes? What's your favorite YouTube clip my people can go look for?
I'm not gonna plug YouTube. I'm gonna plug my Instagram, which is Out of the Box Rosie, and that's named after my podcast was Out of the Box Podcast, and I interview anyone out of the box. So I've had everyone from a Nobel Peace Prize nominee to porn stars.
Amazing. Out of the Box podcast on Instagram, and from there they can get your other podcast, right?
Yeah, go on Instagram. There's a link, and all of my podcasts and everything. But and I want to promote my comedy special.
Yes. Talk about it. Tell me.
I have a comedy special, my first half-hour special. It's on NBC Peacock, and if you go to my Instagram, there's a link to it, and it's free with ads on NBC Peacock.
Is it
you have to
right
pay.
now? We can get
Right
it?
now, at this very second.
Listen, go watch the show, because those small networks, they're going to count the streams and they're going to bring back and bring.
Count the streams. They're counting every single one.
She gets a whole half a penny for
Half a
everybody that
penny.
watches. So please, I had a musician friend tell me, he's like, "Would you just listen to the album on Spotify?" He goes, "I get a quarter
Just
Every-
give me the quarter. Here's the quarter.
every time someone listens to the entire album." And he's a good friend, and I went, "I listen to the whole album, the whole album."
Just give them $10.
Exactly. I don't want to do that because I'm a terrible white devil friend. But white devil is just the devil.
That's your nickname now.
The devil, or
Bart,
white
aka
devil.
White Devil. You're the White Devil.
This is really gonna stick.
That's the clip that's gonna go viral, and then I'll get canceled again.
Rosie, thanks for coming by.
Thank you,
I love you so
Bart.
much. This has been great.
Thank you so much.